On behalf of Comma DC tonight, I am Keshni Naika Washington, and I'm a South African immigrant, and I've lived in the DMV for about 8 years. If you don't know about Comma DC, it's a team of volunteers from the Washington, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And everybody is united by this passion to build a community and to build community ties. Comma DC is all about building community through immigrant-led cultural experiences. And we have immigrants teach classes, share stories, their skills and passions. And that's how we build awareness, understanding, and community. And of course, tonight is one of those great storytelling events. So you're in for a good one tonight. We have amazing speakers. Tonight, the theme is companionship. And there's sort of an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And a companion is someone who makes you feel seen, known, and understood. And the resulting connection can give you a sense of belonging. Stories of love and companionship have carried people through unimaginable difficulties and provided unparalleled joy. Tonight, our speakers are interpreting this theme of companionship and sharing their true stories and experiences with us. This is a rare privilege. So of course, we ask you to treat everything that is shared with the utmost respect, and to please feel free to leave comments and questions and just words of encouragement in the chat, whatever you feel like. So I think if our first speaker is ready, we can get started. Are you ready? So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Tekli Mikael. He's an activist and a community organizer from Eritrea, as well as an educator at his church. Mikael also spent over a decade as an asylum seeker in Israel with no legal status, where he spearheaded numerous community outreach initiatives, worked with several human rights organizations in pursuit of social justice for his community. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. To add on that, also now I am with Refugee Congress and to be specific, delegate for Maryland, which is an organization that helps refugees and asylees, and founded and led by refugees also at the same time. It is a nationwide non-partisan advocacy organization, so I'm also part of it. Thank you so much. I'm really happy and honored to be here and tell my story. Sometimes when you tell your story, it becomes part of you, because you repeat again and again. As you said, it's about companionship. For me, companionship is about friendship. It's better for me to tell about friendship. You already said in Africa, we say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. I will tell my story about my friendship. When I was in Eritrea, because I was born and raised in Eritrea, I was an athlete, a professional athlete, trained by a national coach. At that time, we had a lot of players at the same time, and they had a lot of friends because we trained together and we raced together. So we had a lot of close relationship. At the same time, with my friend, now I won't talk about, been imprisoned at the same time because of our political opinion, but in different prison. After a few time we spent in prison, the government drafted us to the army forcibly. I went to the military training forcibly first. After 2 months, new cars came to the military training. So because I was young and you are expecting something, because if a car came to your camp, you run as a young person to see who is coming. I saw my friend come with a bag in his hand. I was shocked because I didn't know he was imprisoned. We were together for years as the same team. And at the same time, what I did was like, I don't want to tell him how bad it was. Just I took him. He already was in prison at the same time as me. I took him just to my bed. And after that, they gave him a bed and everything. So we trained together in the army for almost a year. We graduated to be a soldier, which is forcibly. Everything is forcibly, because both of us trained for years to be professional athletes. Because most of our friends were world champion racers. Some of them even world champion record holders. Some of them, they won medals in Olympics. So our dream was to be this kind of athletes. So we have shared dream. There was no secret up between us. Always we tell everything about us because almost kind of brothers, you know. We had a lot of similarities. I remember it was in August 2006 when the government destroyed our lives, especially mine and his. We were different from the other people around us. We decided to leave the country. So I told him, my friend, let's leave the country because the country is not anymore our country as we dream it to be. We work hard, we study hard, we train hard to represent our country, but the government destroyed it. He agreed. So it was around 8:15 in the night. So we decided to leave from the military camp to the western part of the country, to Sudan. It was night. We walked 2 full nights and 1 full day to reach the border. We had no food, we had no water. Especially during the day we were hiding. We were afraid because near the border there was a lot of military camps, a lot of soldiers, so we were afraid to be caught by them. If we are caught by them, the only choice that we get is like imprisoned for life. If not, we'll be killed. So there was fear inside of us, unimaginable fear. It was him that I am relying, and it's me that he is also relying. Because we have to walk at night. We don't have light, we don't have anything. Just we walk without any compass. Just we had a big light from Kassala, which is a city in Western Sudan. So we have followed the lights. Sometimes we fell through cliffs. Sometimes we put ourselves in bushes because it's dark. We don't see anything. So sometimes we held hand to hand because we are scared to be like broken, you know. It's not because we are afraid of dark, because we are trained soldiers, we are fine of that. But we know that we are marching to a machine gun, because before us, we know there is military guards in the border. Yes, they have commanders which they kill people without any even questioning. We knew that. So, especially in the third day when we reach the border, we caught by the military. So I had a shirt in my back which is written my club name and everything. They asked me who I am. I tell them my name, and they know about me, and they know about him. So they ask us, "Why are you heading to the west?" I try to lie, but already they know who I am. So we both trained soldiers. The only choice we had was to run. When we start to run, I run to the east, he runs to the west. They shoot guns, and they shoot 3 bullets to me. I knew how to dodge bullets, but I'm lying if I escape from bullets, especially from a soldier who are trained for years in a war. You can't, because I was a soldier, I know that. I have to use a lot of zigzag to dodge the bullets. Fortunately, I was escaped, but at the time, because I was an athlete, I had dreams at the time to be an Olympian athlete. Like, it was okay even to hit me in my neck or my back or my head, it's fine. But I was praying at the same time, like not my legs, because I had a dream to be an athlete. If they hit me in my legs, I will be disabled. There is no dream to be an athlete. We separated at the same time. It took me almost 12 hours to reach to Kassala from that time. That day was the longest day that I ran in my life. I ran the entire day without nonstop. My friend was lucky, he reached Kasala before me. And the next day we reached the refugee camp, not far from the city. So my friend knows where I came from, so he knows some people that they know me. He told them we were together in the border, but there was gunfire between us. They fire guns to kill us. So they knew who I am. They knew how strong I was. So they decide, oh, he's dead. So all of them came together and they were discussing to tell my family that I'm dead in the border. At the same time, I came to the camp, but I was hungry. So I was fighting to get food because I didn't know my friend is there. I didn't know other people were there. I was fighting to grab food and fighting with people, and they saw me. We are crying and you are fighting for food. How do I know that you are crying for me, you know? And it was a fun at that time. But when I think about it now, it was a sad story, you know? Your best friend that knew you were with him and knew gun was fired to you, he knew that you died. And that is the hardest part to tell your family or his family. So the companionship really mean a lot to me. It's not just about a word for me. It is this friend that saved me at that time in any way. Even after that, I don't know if I can say that. Maybe he will say that maybe I saved him at the same time, because if you are 2 or 3 friends, especially refugees like us, you'll rely on your friend, the person who's close to you, the person who walked with you, because there is no family, but you choose a family at the same time. The people who you trust. The people that stand with you in your hard time, the people who sit with you in your bed when you are sick. This is a companionship to me. That was my friend when I was sick. He was with me all the time, like my mother, like my father. Thank you for hearing my story. I'm so lucky and I'm so honorable to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was an incredibly unique experience that you shared with us, and incredibly moving. Thank you so much. She is of Ghanaian heritage. She recently moved to the DMV area 1 year ago from Massachusetts. She has a healthcare background, having worked for managed care organizations and completed projects related to the Affordable Care Act. Essie is a certified project management professional and has a BA in sociology from Tufts University and a master's of public administration degree from Villanova University. She currently resides in Arlington, Virginia. Welcome, Essie.
Thank you for the introduction. So as mentioned earlier, my name is Essie. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I lived in Philadelphia for 6 years, and last year I moved to the DC area. I am a first-generation Ghanaian American, and growing up here, I always struggled to fit in because while I'm an American, my family is really, really, really African. For example, when I was younger and we used to go to Ghana every other summer, my mother would literally have me smuggle in dried meat and fish from Ghana because she believed that the meat in Africa was better. So that's how African I am, that we smuggle meat into the country. But in all seriousness, as an immigrant or a child of immigrants, where there's often a dichotomy between our native culture and the American Western culture, this dichotomy tends to impact all aspects of our lives, from work, social norms, and friendships. So tonight, I just wanted to share my story or experiences with how my parents' African culture, or Ghanaian social norms really impacted my friendships throughout my life growing up. So first, I guess I'll talk about what happened in elementary school and this whole idea of sleepovers. Don't get me wrong, we did do sleepovers with like cousins and things like that, but the idea of going to a schoolmate's house to spend the night there was completely out of question for my parents and was like quite a bizarre idea. So for the first few years of my life, particularly in elementary school, I never went to sleepovers, but eventually they opened up to this idea as they became more assimilated into American culture. So I remember being in third grade at St. Jude School in Waltham, Massachusetts, where I was a Girl Scout, but ironically, I was forbidden by my parents from doing a lot of the Girl Scout activities, such as selling cookies, sleepovers, building fires, etc. And by the way, when I did ask my parents if I could sell cookies to our neighbors, my father looked at me confused and asked me why I wanted to go around and beg strangers for money. But back to the whole sleepover concept. I remember asking my mom if I could attend sleepovers, and she would often give me this very long speech about how they had worked so hard to buy their first home in America. So why would I want to disrespect them by sleeping at a classmate's house when we had our own home and I had my own bed? And and I think part of it comes out of not only distrust, but like, just why would parents want to have a bunch of kids sleep over their house and manage a bunch of 9-year-old girls who are obsessed with New Kids on the Block and watching TV shows like Blossom? It just didn't make any sense to them at all. So, but eventually my mom, over a few years, opened up to letting us have sleepovers and even hosting them at our house, because she had had a coworker that convinced her that this was okay. But the whole reason I bring up this sleepover example is because not being able to attend those type of events made me feel really left out or different growing up. I remember always being like asked why I didn't go to so-and-so's house over the weekend. And I'd always feel the need to lie and make up that I was at my best friend Cassandra's house. Cassandra's not a real person, but just to explain why I wasn't able to attend these events and not appear different to other people. But in retrospect, I know the way that my parents raised me definitely impacts the way I navigate my friendships now as an adult. And I really, really work hard to acknowledge this and actively pursue friendships that are outside of my comfort zone and try activities that are different from my norm. So then moving on to high school, and just to give you a little bit more background, I did also grow up in a very competitive household. And I don't know if this is necessarily a cultural thing or just my parents' personalities, that they distrust people in general. So you always have to look at people as a competitor in the workplace or in life or in school, but that's just how my family is. So while my mom was able to develop really strong relationships with her coworkers and colleagues, my father would always tell me horror stories about being alienated as the only African in his working department. So he works in academia, and he would always express to me how his colleagues mistreated him like he was dumb because of his country of origin or because of his accent. And he would always emphasize that colleagues are not to be trusted and there can only be one person at the top. And this stuck with me for many years and paralyzed me from developing authentic friendships outside of work. And so when I lived in Philadelphia, I ended up meeting one of my best friends in the entire world at one of my part-time night jobs. It was a health insurance call center with a very colorful crowd that worked there, for lack of a better term. But anyways, I had already been working there for a few weeks when she joined the company. And one night I was in training, and this girl walks into the training room with braids very similar to mine, an exact dress that I owned. And she even worked full-time to a direct competitor of my company, as we both happened to be working for large HR payroll consulting firms full-time outside of the call center. I instantly despised her. And to make matters worse, because we look very similar, people would always get us confused and it would infuriate me. I don't know what brought us together, but probably about 1 month after working together and never speaking to each other, we had a really nice long conversation and found out that we had a ton in common, which makes sense given that we had the same hairstyle and pretty much matching clothes. Oddly enough, to this day, we both laugh about how we initially despised each other, and we discuss why we initially saw each other as a threat in the workplace. And a lot of it does directly come from being Black women operating in predominantly white institutions, but I know part of it comes from my dad's negative professional experiences. With all that said, I bring up these experiences because I now make an effort to develop relationships in unexpected places, such as the workplace, so I can intentionally break this fear that my parents instilled in me. So I guess my lesson or advice to you guys is that I implore everyone here, of course, to use COVID PPI because we're still in a pandemic, but just I implore you to go out there, whether it's a workspace, a coffee shop, or even here at Comma, to be open to companionship in places where you least expect it. And whether it's overcoming cultural challenges and different social norms, be open because you might meet your own personal doppelganger and befriend them someday.
Thank you so much, Essie. That is so cool. I think the little bit of discomfort that we have when in trying to open up, it's always, the reward is always worth it if we can just push past it. And I think it's a perfect message that you've given us today. Thank you. Thank you so much. So on to our Fox speaker. David Mutombo is a community servant who has spent the past 7 years working for several organizations dedicated to improving today's social and economic challenges. David is originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo and fluently speaks French and Swahili. As an immigrant who arrived in the United States alone 10 years ago, me too, David has firsthand experience of the benefits of friendships to one's personal and professional growth. Welcome, David.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to share my story. And I will probably be very brief. And my story will just focus on the benefits of friendship. As Keshni has mentioned during the introduction, I arrived in this country alone and without any family member, extended or close. So I had to learn to live again. And I was born a bit over 3 decades ago in a southern town of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And I am the third of a family of 7. And for those who know African tradition, we usually live with parents, grandparents, sometimes even cousins, uncles. So I had all these people all around me growing up until then came the time for me to go to college. It was not, at that time, I consider it to be a very long trip, like 400 miles away. But this was going to be the first time that I was going to live away from my family, away from my parents. But still, I got to spend all the major holidays, Christmas, New Year, and had a family gathering with them because it was very easy for me to travel there and be with them. And furthermore, I was also fortunate to have almost all the same friends that I had in high school and even elementary school. Most of those friends, we moved together to college. So the separation with my family was not really that hard because they were still very close to me. And then came this very exciting opportunity, which myself and many of my friends could not even dream of. It was an 8,000-mile trip across the Atlantic, a trip to the United States. And exactly at approximately 10 minutes past 8 a.m., it was a Sunday morning. I landed at Dallas Airport on December 11th. I was alone with no friends, no parents, no close or extended family members. And I was in this new country with new foods, new language, all alone in a country which I only knew in books and on TV. And it didn't take a while for me to realize how hard this journey would be when I came to realize that I was unable to communicate with others because I was a French speaker and I couldn't speak any English when I first arrived here. And it was the first time for me that I was even unable to communicate with other people. And although personally I was determined to overcome every challenges, but as I have just mentioned, without the support of others, it was going to be very, very difficult. And as a Christian, I could also at that time remember some of the Bible verse which talk about how Christ in God has given us brothers, sisters, and parents. And this is something that I have personally experienced because I didn't have any. I was so far away from my parents, so far away from my brothers, friends, but even 8,000 miles away from my home country, I was fortunate enough to find many people on whom I could rely to succeed both academically as well as professionally, and people who I can call friends, parents, and even grandparents for my 2-year-old daughter. And people were present in my hard time and also who brought laughter in a moment of happiness and celebration. All these milestones that I was able to accomplish in this country, like graduation. For example, even my graduation, my parents were unable to come here. And because it's sometimes so hard to get a US visa. So to me, when I think about companionship, I just realize how fortunate I have been to uh, have all these people around me. If I can just look back at the past 10 years, this journey in this new country, I I am just filled with gratitude and gratefulness for all the people who have been around me. And when I received the invitation for this to this event, I was just typing some like the words companionship, and I found this Bible verse that I had never read before, which really struck me when I read it, and I will end by reading this. And the book is in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. It says, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has no other to lift him up. Again, if two lies together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? So this is just something that I have experienced. If I was alone, everything or most of the thing that I've been able to accomplish would have not been possible. So this opportunity that I had received to come into this country has also given me the opportunity to have a first-hand experience on what it means to be the value of friendship. And as Leonce has shared, he had same also many people who were stranger on whom I could rely to achieve some of my goals. So it has been an incredible path for me, and today I can count many, many people who I call friend, but who I never knew before. And my daughter, she's 2. She's got people who she call grandparents, but they are not the grandparents. So I'm just very grateful of all the people who have been able to bring joy into my life and to also sustain me through the time of difficulties, because as a new immigrant in this country, there are many challenges that one needs to overcome. And without the support of all these people, it would have been completely impossible. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, David. I'm sure there's so many people listening who can relate. I see Kwame was laughing in the chat earlier as well to some of Essie's stories, and it sounded hilarious. I wish I could hear him. If any of you have any comments or questions, please put them in the chat, because we're going to have a few moments for questions. So think of what you want to ask any of our speakers, or if you want to share a little bit of your own experiences, if they jog something, please share with us in the comments in the chat. So here we go to Kofi, and I know he's super excited. Kofi Ofori was born and raised in Ghana, a country that is considered to be the center of the world and the source of the kente cloth, and one of the world's leading producers of the cocoa beans for chocolate production across the globe. He moved to the UK to attain higher education, where he received a graduate degree in marketing analytics from the University of Southampton. Kofi loves to share knowledge with his friends in Ghana in order to bring them up to speed with the latest technological trends and advancement. In his spare time, Kofi volunteers with SABLE, Sustaining Active Black Leadership, Business Resource Group, in Maryland Tool Bank and the Maryland Food Bank. Kofi resides in Maryland with his wife, 2 children, and mother-in-law. Kofi also loves movies and good music. Welcome, Kofi.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the KAMA organizers for organizing this program. I really appreciate it. And thank you for allowing us to share our story. As already heard, I'm Kofi Ofori, born in Ghana with the famous kente cloth. My story is going to be about how I chose my career path with the help of companions, and how that path eventually led to how I settled in America. Keshni already defined a companion as somebody who makes you feel seen, known, and understood. I call them my accountability partners. They are the ones I've given permission to access and evaluate my life, the ones who can hold me accountable in every vision, dreams, action, and decision I take. I believe we all need them in our lives. Early on in my life, my parents and siblings were my companions. I did not choose them. I was just blessed with them and will always be grateful to them. In 2006, I had the chance to travel to the UK on a working holiday visa. And I was invited by a couple, Kojo Mante and Sandra Mante. Sandra, I knew. Kojo, I had not met yet. But I connected instantly with Kojo, and we started sharing similar interests with conversations over time. Kojo worked as a data analyst / programmer at the time, and his field piqued my interest. Kojo saw the idea of analysis into me. My encounter with Kojo was at Milton Keynes. Gave me clarity to the career choice I wanted to take. He was very passionate about what he did, and he used to tell stories about how he used data to derive insights into his career, and I was very interested. I could consider a career in that field. My visa ran out, and I went back to Ghana. I started deliberating on how I was going to achieve this new dream or vision that had been sown into me. So when I got to Ghana, I had to kind of start making a living, and I found a career in the finance industry. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, but it kept me going. During that time, I got married to my sweetheart, my wife Jacinta, in 2010. But I had still not forgotten the dream of trying to be an analyst. We had a great time with marriage. My wife actually relocated from here to Ghana to start life all over with me in Ghana. So we were okay. Then some years later, we were blessed with our first child, and after seeing my son, actually, it hit me that I had to be somebody. I had to kind of push myself to be somebody. And I had still not secured the funds. We had some savings. I still not secured the funds to go to school to achieve the knowledge that I wanted. But one particular deed that sticks out with regards to that career journey is when my sister, she had been working in the public sector for 6 months, and she got her first paycheck. In Ghana, there's that lag when you work for some time. She got her first paycheck, and she sacrificed her first paycheck for me to push me to achieve the career ambitions that I had. So in 2013, I secured the visa. And when I was about to go, my wife, we found out that we were expecting our second child. The decision hit me. Do I put the dream on pause or do I go? It was a tough decision for me, trying to make that call. But my wife pushed me. She said, I'll be fine, you go. And I knew my wife had a difficulty pregnancy during the first one. And the second one, too, we knew it was going to be difficult. But for me, that assurance came in when my brother and my sister and my whole family set in to support her. Eventually, she had to come to the United States. I was still struggling in school, trying to find my way to the new culture in the UK, trying to adapt things. Then gradually, I finished the program. So I had the chance to come to the United States to visit, and after the program. So when I came, my wife told me to start life afresh, like from the United States. I had gone to school, spent most of our savings. Like, I was wondering how we're going to make it. Like, I didn't have a job when I came. I had no status. I'd come as a visitor. I had no status. It was a tough decision for me, and also to crown it all, starting life afresh, like from the ground up. But thinking about the sacrifices that people have made for me and all over the time, I gave in to that request and decided to make the sacrifice. I have benefited from information, sacrifices, resources, encouragement, and support. So just when we made the decision, my sister-in-law stepped in because it was very tough. I didn't know where to start from, where I was going to work. My wife too was recovering from a very difficult pregnancy. And so my sister and mother-in-law stepped in to help. My sister-in-law gave us a place to stay. We spent almost a year with her. She didn't put pressure on us. She didn't ask us about money challenges or anything. She just encouraged us. And eventually I had to kind of put in my visa application and change my status. And during that time, waiting time, it was very, very tough for me. Like being at home, nothing, like having nothing to do. But it was also a great joy being a parent. But eventually, my family kept inspiring me that everything will be fine. Eventually, I got my status changed and I started the career search. It took about a year plus to get the career I wanted. But with encouragement and support from family, eventually I was able to get it. So the question I want to leave everybody with is, I have enjoyed the blessings from people giving and sacrificing for me. That's why I also like to give back to society. So in closing, I want to ask the question that, how would we all support people in our circles who are trying to settle in the US?
Thank you so much, Kofi. That's an incredibly important question because I don't think anyone really can understand how lonely it is when we first come here. It's incredibly lonely. And also, this just in a fact check, Ghana is not the center of the world. I'm not sure why that was in my notes there. It got snuck in before the fact checkers could get to it. But
It has the equator going through it.
Okay, Kofi. Please, I wanted to give you a few minutes to put your questions in the chat. There is one question that's come through that I'm going to ask you, but I want to quickly give a few announcements before I do that. So everybody, you should be aware of kamadc.org website. We have several things coming up really soon. In fact, this Sunday, we have homemade pad thai with Bess at 6 p.m. So check out our events. On March 4th, there's Refugee Shabbat, A Taste of Syria. And on March 17th, there's a welcome to Afghan refugees in the DMV. So there's lots of events going on. Make sure you subscribe and check our events. We also have an Instagram account called @Immigrants_of_the_DMV, where immigrants or children of immigrants share their stories on Sundays. So they do a little takeover. So you can sign up for that as well. So back to Ghana not being the center of the world. I have one question that's come through that I want to ask you guys. So it's for all of you. The question is, how did the concept of community and friendship change after you arrived in the US? What were your expectations about finding meaningful friends and connections here before you came, and how have they changed? What did you expect and how has it changed? So who wants to go take that? Kofi?
It has changed in a way. For me, in Ghana, people see you and say hello. So that's like an easy way to access people. Yeah, sometimes you see people and they cross to the other side of the street. Like, you just want to say hello, but you're not given the chance to even say hello. So in a way, it's a bit difficult, but I think one way to easily make friends is to start with organizations like this. Get to socialize through these organizations, and eventually you get to make friends.
Thanks, Kofi. Anyone else wants to jump in on that? How your expectations of friendship were different from what happened or confirmed?
Can I go? It is different, especially for me as former asylum seeker, and he came from Africa. Friendship there is not just about chit chat for work. It's about you share everything with the person. He become part of you. He knows about your family. He knows about your life. He knows about everything about you. Especially my friend, as I spoke in my story. Even we used to speak about girls, about my crush, about his crush, everything. There is no secret at all, but when I moved to other countries, the culture is different. And also at the same time, the expectation also is different. You get friends, but not as those who are with you when you are at hard time, when you have challenges, because when you have challenges, you have deep connection. Especially when I came to America, like the first time I came from Israel, like people say hi. I say like, most people, I don't know them, I can't say hi. Because in Israel, it's different, it's rush. It's not because people are not friendly, they are very friendly, they are very loving people. But there is like difference. If you don't know him, or you don't know her, there is you can't fake it, Here, even though you don't know them, just you have to fake it, And I don't like that. I like, as an African, when we love somebody, when we make friends, we make them family. Not just for chit chat, but it's different expectation, it's different stories, different life. So we have to use details also at the same time. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Someone has asked, which is a really great question, what are the kinds of help that would be most useful to immigrants coming here? What are the ways that you would have wished, simple ways that you wish somebody could have reached out or helped you, that other people can emulate and maybe keep in mind when they're encountering somebody who they realize is not from here?
If I may go first, I think just keeping an open mind. It's hard to really, I know because a lot of my family has immigrated here, and it's really hard to prepare for that. I think a lot of times people go off what they see in the media, and then they come to the country and then they realize this is not what America is at all, especially depending on what region of the country you're in. So again, just keeping an open mind and trying to do your own research and educate yourself on why some things are done the way they are. And I hope that Americans on the other side do the same for immigrants, being aware of those cultural norms and just trying to create a safe space.
David?
Yes, and I completely agree with AC. Yes, what she has mentioned is true. And yes, having an open mind, it like to also be willing to learn about the other culture. And one thing that I have also personally experienced, and even in my current job, community support is also something that is very important, because what makes or what can guarantee even the success of an immigrant in a new country is, of course, not only the availability of community support and different resources, but the role of the community. For example, if the community is more welcoming and open, that will also help facilitate the integration. And like for me, this is something that I was able to experience. And not only on campus, I went to a private Christian university here, and they had such a, I can still remember my first day on campus, the way that they welcomed me. And so it was my integration in that environment was just very easy. I think that openness to welcome the stranger is really important in order to facilitate successful integration.
Thank you, David. I know for me personally, like food always helps. I was extremely lonely when I first moved here. And I remember first Thanksgiving, I really, really wanted to be invited to somebody's Thanksgiving. So I was really wanting to try some of the strange Thanksgiving food. So invite people to Thanksgiving is one of the ways you can help us out sometimes, acclimatize to this new place. I think if there's anybody else who has a question, you can unmute yourself and ask it. Otherwise, I would like to thank everybody very much for their contribution tonight. And as we started off saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And in these strange times, this means, showing up for people over Zoom is how you can be together with people and really be there for them. So I wanted to thank everybody who tuned in tonight as well. Thank you for showing up for us. Thank you for holding space for these stories. And please share what you've learned with other people and invite them to learn more and to be involved more and to come to our next storytelling event and hear from these amazing people who are living among you as Americans, but also have something slightly different to contribute to this community. So thank you very much, everybody. Don't forget to check out at Immigrants of the DMV on Instagram and comeatdc.org, and our events coming up, including the one this Sunday with Bess, making homemade pad thai. So have a great night, everybody.